Feminist movement has accused the Israeli government of adopting a racist policy towards the country's Ethiopian Jews. Activists believe black women are deliberately being given a controversial contraceptive to bring about a drop in the population, a claim the government denies. Thousands of Ethiopians have immigrated to Israel since the 1980s, but their Jewish heritage has been questioned while their social status continues to suffer.
For nearly 4 years, Racheli Mangoli has been running a youth center in one of Israel's poorer communities. 45 Ethiopian families live here, but throughout that entire time, only one Ethiopian baby was born in this neighborhood, and that alarmed Racheli.
Because I smell something not good. I know about the discrimination here. When I'm going with the children, I feel this. Even when I'm going to buy something in the super, one woman said to me, I don't understand how can you are standing near people like this. When they give me money, I'm going and washing my hands.
After some investigation, Racheli discovered many of the Ethiopian women, keen not to get pregnant while setting up life in a new country, had been placed on the controversial contraceptive depo-provera, a drug few Israeli women have heard of, let alone use. This woman was first put on it 4 years ago and underwent repeated injections every 3 months. She says it's left her with such terrible pains in her hands and back she can no longer work. She insists she was never told about its side effects or offered an alternative. Like many Ethiopians in Israel, she's afraid she'll be deported if she questions the authorities. Dr. Factor is reluctant to give the contraceptive to his patients. He says it's known to delay fertility for months after women come off it, and in some cases can cause infertility.
Again, the safety factor is 100%. As a contraceptive, it's absolutely fine. But at least 10% develop substantial side effects. Side effects like irregular bleeding, the periods may disappear, they may have heavy periods, and it's impossible to reverse these side effects. Until it's worked itself out of the system, you can't reverse these. So it's possible, although the contraception works for 3 months at a time, the side effects may last for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
In 2004, the American Food and Drug Administration warned against the dangers of the drug, but the World Health Organization refused to restrict its use. Hedve Eyal has tried unsuccessfully to draw attention to the fact Ethiopian Israelis are given the drug without being warned of the risks. She claims it's her government's policy and is nothing short of racism.
They don't want poor or black children, and depo-provera gives them the opportunity to have the control, because she taking her injection once in 3 months and she cannot have children. You know, it's 100% secure from children.
Hedve says the policy is working. The number of black babies in Israel is decreasing, but there are no official statistics to back up her claim. Although for community workers and Ethiopian women here, they don't need statistics. They feel their reality speaks for itself. We've come to the clinic where the women get their injections, but no one will talk to us. The health ministry admits it gives the drug, but says it was never its policy to give it only to Ethiopian women and reduce the number of black babies in the country. In their defense, Jewish agencies involved in immigration said they offered several types of contraceptives to Ethiopian women, and that all of them participated voluntarily in family planning. Paula Slier, RT, Israel.
Well, for more on this, we're joined live by Dr. Yifat Bitton from the Israeli Anti-Discrimination Legal Center, Tamura, and also by Professor Zvi Bentwich, immunologist and human rights activist. Well, thank you both for joining us. To you first, Dr. Bitton, do you believe the findings of this human rights group reveal a genuine problem with racism in Israel?
I certainly do not think so. I would say that we are, and personally I'm very sensitive, especially towards the Ethiopian issue, and I don't think there is any ground to suspect an official policy of that kind. I, of course, do not know sufficiently the specifics of the cases raised by Dr. Bitton.
Well, let's give Dr. Bitton a chance to actually respond to that then. What's your view on that?
Okay, so we know the statistics, and the statistics speak to themselves.
What are the statistics?
It's not a matter of view, it's a matter of statistics, as Professor Bentowitz just said. And the Isha Leisha, women-to-women center in Haifa, the statistics are that 60% of the women receiving this contraceptive, this controversial one, are Ethiopian Jews. And you have to understand that Ethiopians in Israel comprise of, or consist up to only 1% of the population. So the gap here is just impossible to reconcile in any logical manner that would, just somehow resist the claim of racism. So I don't think, as Professor Bentowitz said, that this is something that has to be official. This is a problem with racism today, that nothing is official, but everything, as on the ground and statistically, and the consequences of what is not official is definitely racism, and is definitely racist in that manner. And this is how sociologists today look at racism, as something that is eventually bringing upon very discriminatory consequences.
Okay, well hang on just a moment. Professor Bentowitz, you've heard the statistics there. How do you respond to that then?
Yes. I would only say two things. Number one, I'm not against looking and inquiring the claim. If there is a claim, one should investigate. But when asked about official attitudes, official policy, official medical policy, I am very reluctant to accept that is indeed a policy of racism on that part. To the best of my knowledge, and I have looked into that repeatedly many times, and I emphasize, I am not alluding to this specific case. I don't think there is any ground to suspect the medical community or the medical official in instituting such a policy. It can be a case that has to be inquired into, but it definitely does not reflect a policy that is official.
Well, we heard the words investigation and inquiry there. Dr. Bitton, do you believe an official investigation into this issue needs to take place?
But the question is, of course, what is official? Well, yes, of course, these are shocking statistics, but what is more important is the way by which it's going to be conducted, because the problem is that if we're again and again looking for official, racist instructions that would not work. But what I'm looking for is, for example, thinking about doctors that think that, for example, just a second please, that for Ethiopian women it is better for them not to have children. This is something that doctors should have to think themselves if that was something that they would have done for white Jewish Israeli women as well. This is the whole question that they should ask themselves. Even if they think that they're working for the best interest of that patient, they still have to ask themselves, is that exactly what they would do for Jewish women as well?
All right. After you have finished, Dr. Bitton, and you allow me to put in a word, I think we all agree that racism should not take place, and we are fighting racism daily and where we think it exists. I do not, and I emphasize, I do not think that the problem you allude to is a major problem in Israel. There are other serious problems of racism in Israel, but that is not the one that we think is a major one. And I don't think that an inquiry of the kind that is needed cannot be made. If you ask me, if you present the cases to our organization, we would be happy to look into that. But I think you make too strong a case with too little evidence to support it.
Okay, you mentioned the word racism there. So, Dr. Bitton, how serious is the issue of racial segregation in Israel?
Whose perspective we're taking, because if we take the women... Well, this is exactly the case. Maybe this is not the biggest discrimination or discriminatory practices against Ethiopian Jews in Israel. They suffer from so many, but that does not entail, anything about not needing to deal with this one. We're talking about new lives coming to this world of Ethiopian people. So even if the numbers are not huge, it's still a big, big issue because of the content of this story. And second of all, Ethiopian Jews in Israel are really at one of the lowest positions of Jews in Israel today. And this is very saddening to see this only as, another step, another layer, another brick in the wall of discrimination that they have to deal with every day. For them, it's a consistent, mechanism of discrimination that they suffer from.
Okay,
they don't think of it